Hello, good people of YouTube, Mountbatten here, and today we have the much requested Tier 9 Premium Italian DD, the Paolo Emilio. Now, before we get going, I do ask that even if you're not interested in the ship and you just clicked on the video just because you got the notification, please just mute the video and let it play in the background. The ship was not cheap at all to get, and I am not a CC, I'm not part of the Community Contributor Program, so I don't get any type of doubloons or ships from Wargaming at all. I do all of this out of my own pocket, which the channel in a large part does cover in most cases. But Research Bureau ships like the Emilio and the Slava and the Siegfried, those I have to convert XP in order to get, because I also have a full-time job, which means I don't have time to regrind lines in order to get these reviews out on time. I could regrind the lines, of course, but then the reviews would probably come out months after the ships have been released. In order to inform you guys as soon as possible what I think about the ship, I like to get these reviews out as fast as I possibly can, so I have to convert XP in order to, go through the lines and such, and that is a very expensive endeavor. For example, for the Paulo, this one was actually a tiny bit cheaper than normal. This one was only $237 because I had the points from the Anchorage event and had some points left over from prior lines being reset, and a fair amount of free XP. If you noticed in the last time you guys saw my port, I had like a 2 million free XP, and now I only have 87,000 free XP left over. So yeah, it's an expensive endeavor, but I'm willing to do it for you guys. But again, if you guys wouldn't mind just letting the video play all the way through, just so I get that sweet ad revenue. I'm also considering putting up a Patreon if they continue to release this many ships in the Research Bureau, but that's for a later date. Anyway, thanks for listening to that. Let's go ahead and look at the Emilio. So I have played this ship a bit. I wanted to actually know how to play it before I gave you guys my 2 cents on it. As you guys know, I'm not a very good destroyer player, so I went out with our resident DD main Pickles, and he gave me some pointers on how to Emilio, which is relatively simple for most cases, so a BB main pleb like myself can actually understand how to play Emilio. So yeah, I have played this ship a bit, but you guys will still get my genuine first impressions because I'm going to talk about my experience and such with it. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the ship stat-wise. So I took all the modules off, the commander's been taken off, and the flags are off, so let's go ahead and look at her baseline stats. So her armor layout, that's DD, of course, so armor is, well, DD armor. It's 19mm bow, you got a 19mm plating here, 60mm side plating, 19mm all the way around, 20mm deck, 20mm deck, 30mm, no wait, what? Yeah, 20mm deck, 30mm, what was that? Oh, the Barbad armor. Oh, DDs. Let's see what her internals look like. So yeah, it doesn't have a citadel, but there you go. There's the internal bits. Lots of 19mm with that 60mm side plating there. 25mm stern bulkhead, and I'm assuming the front's 25mm as well. Yep. Alright. So her survivability, she does have 24,400 hit points base. Her artillery, she has 8 of these 135mm guns with a base 10.7 second reload time, a 180 time of 18 seconds, maximum dispersion of 100 meters. Her HE shells have a 9% chance of starting a fire and have a maximum damage of 1950. They can pin 23mm of armor. Her sap shells can pin 38mm of armor and have a maximum damage rating of 3050 with a maximum range of 11.3 kilometers. And both initial sap and HE shells have a velocity of 875 meters a second. Alright, her torpedoes, she has 12 torp tubes. These are essentially Shimakaze torpedoes, with only a 6-kilometer range, with a reload time of 120 seconds, 180 time of 7.2 seconds, and a maximum damage of 23,767, which is, again, quite a bit. They're pretty spicy. They're Shimakaze torpedoes, but just like point blanks, and they typically range by 1.7 kilometers. She's got a little bit of it. So maximum speed base of 43.5 knots and a turning circle radius of 810 meters. To give you guys an example of what to compare that to, if we go over to one of my few tier 10 destroyers, the Kleber, which isn't that maneuverable turning wise, has a turning radius of 740 meters And let's take a look at my other tier 10, the Harugumo, which again isn't the most maneuverable boat ever. And the line that I had to reset in order to do this. And again, the Harugumo is actually the cheapest line, if you didn't know, to reset. Has 830 meters as well. So again, not the most maneuverable ship ever. Has the same turning radius as the Harugumo. So yeah, she slides around a bit when you drive her. She's a bit drifty. All right. Actually has a little bit smaller turning radius than the Harugumo, because both the Harugumo and the Paulo are pretty much light cruisers that are forced into the DD spot. So yeah. All right, concealment, 8.8 kilometers base, and by air is 3.7 kilometers, which her AA guns have a, let's see, what's the range? 4.6 kilometers, all right. So yeah, it's worth it to turn your AA guns off to get that another 1 kilometer of detection by air. All right, so her equipment, she does get damage con. She gets exhaust smoke, which means that this will continually disperse as the ship is moving, even at maximum speed, and will keep you undetected. So it's activated for 35 seconds, sticks around for 10 seconds, and reloads in 140 seconds. You get 5 base. Now you also get emergency engine power, which increases the ship's speed by 25%, but it's only active for 50 seconds, which, if you compare that to the Colbert's engine boost time, is relatively very short. Again, reloads in 140 seconds, and you get 5 of those base. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put the build that I had on her, and I will meet back with you guys here. Let me just slap that back on real quick. Alright, so here we are back once again. Flags are on, equipment is on, and the commander is on. So for the module build, I went with magazine modification 1, because blowing up sucks. Engine room protection. Main battery mod 2. Propulsion mod 1, concealment mod 1, and then main battery mod 3. So I went with the engine because the speed of this thing's so freaking crazy. Why not make it even better? Main battery mod 2 because your turret rotation sucks, and then main battery mod 3 because your reload time also sucks. And since main battery mod 2 had the penalty to the reload time taken away, you still get a little bit of a boost with taking the main battery mod 3. So overall, it is a net gain. For the commander build, I went with preventive maintenance, jack of all trades, MLG turrets, survivability expert, drill and rush, last stand, BFT, and concealment. So now the ship has an 8.5 second reload time, and the turrets rotate in 14.4 seconds. And she now has a concealment range of 7.1 kilometers. And her maximum speed now is 45.7 knots with a 5-second rudder shift time. So now throw that 25% speed boost on top of that, and this thing is just as fast as the Marceau. So that's the Paulo. That's the way I'm going to run it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some battle footage up on the screen, and I will meet you guys there. Alright guys, so the Emilio is honestly one of the funnest ships I've ever played. So the way the ship works is that you are essentially just a ballistic missile delivery system for your torpedoes. You use that fuel smoke, you use that insane speed boost, and you just go for it. Now, this does involve having to be rather quite sneaky. You either have to take the long way around, which isn't a problem because of your speed, or take routes that, you know, you usually wouldn't want to go down in a normal DD, because the Emilio isn't a normal DD. Some of these involve going down the middle in Two Brothers mid to late game, because, you know, by then people assume that the rush would happen at the start of the game, or they just don't assume that a DD this fast would do that. So the Emilio, it's feast or famine, kind of like with the Shikishima, because a lot of the times, you know, you'll try to be sneaky, you'll unfortunately get spotted a bit early and the jig is up, and then you just have to make the most out of that situation. I got a couple of instances that should be playing in the background. These are 3 games I recorded over the weekend. The first game you should be watching is that situation where I was trying to be sneaky, trying to get at either the Missouri or the FDG, and unfortunately the Donskoy kind of ruined it, but I still made the most of the situation and did a fair amount of damage and helped my team win that flank. So you get a lot of situations like those where it just doesn't all go right. But again, this is someone playing that is not a DD main and isn't. I'm not the best DD player in the world. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty terrible in most of them that aren't gunboats. But the Emilio is just so you just go for it, shove torpedoes in their face at less than 3 kilometers or point blank if need be, and rinse, wash, and repeat. Now, if you do pull this off correctly, which correctly doing it involves attacking ships that don't have hydroacoustic search or radar, but sometimes matchmaking just gives you a bunch of German battleships, and that's okay. Hydra won't stop the torpedoes, especially firing at them point blank. The secondaries will chew through you quite a bit and such, but again, you take out one German BB and that's, well over 70k health, and normally they're not alone. Sometimes you'll have runs where you just go in between the two BBs, and given the setup of the Emilio's torpedo tubes, you've got one that can fire on either side, then the other two are wing mounts, so you can only fire them on certain sides of the ship. So just shove 2 set of torpedo tubes in the BB that needs it, and shove the other set of torpedo tubes into the remaining BB and try to survive. I mean, with the Emilio's speed, you should be well over their turret rotation speed. So, I mean, you just make the most of the situation, and sometimes it works out quite well, and you can get 150,000 damage from just one torpedo run. It's incredibly fun, and again, you have to be a little sneaky with it, a little stealthy with it, and it's a fun ship to play. It really is. And this is coming from someone, again, who's a battleship main, and I haven't played a lot of DDs, and it's fun. Now, the biggest downside is, of course, that it's not the best destroyer overall, because even with all the modules and captain skills and such applied, your main guns do have like an 8-second reload, but you do get sap. And the sap does hit very hard, especially against other DDs. Now, when you can present their when they present you their flat broadside, and you get all of your shells to hit, it will chunk them for well over, at least from my experience, at least 5k. I think the best salvo I had was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 7 or 8k, and that again wasn't with all shells connecting. If all 8 shells do connect, it's going to friggin' hurt. So in those cases, yeah, the sap's really good at chewing through DDs. But the DD's maneuvering and stuff and doing what a DD should be doing, it's a little more hit or miss, but it's still effective, and you do get HE too. So if you can't, do the ballistic missile strat, you can farm HE, but again, it's not the best HE farmer because 8-second reload, and even though it does have a pretty nice chance of starting a fire with its HE shells at 10% with flags and such, you won't be getting too many, but you can do DD things in terms of that. But again, it's mainly designed for the ballistic missile, sail straight at the targets, pop that fuel smoke right before you get to your detection range, and you guys will be surprised how much this highlights people's lack of awareness of the situation around them, so situational awareness, because it's like there's a smoke cloud traveling at 50-something knots toward me. I'm going to ignore it, or I'm not looking at it. That's why when I play battleships and I fire, you guys will see me. I'll rotate my camera around to the left, to the right, look behind me, and then go back down the view scope, because hey, you don't know what's sneaking up on you. And yeah, it's quite funny, because other times too, when you get into a position that the enemy team isn't expecting you, like that first clip I showed you guys, and they all kind of just scramble to try and react to you, it's pretty funny to watch. And a clip that I don't know if you're watching it right now or not, but one that you will see, when I went down the middles on Two Brothers, it was just me that went down there, and the entire eastern flank turned around and started to counteract just me going down Two Brothers. It's funny. It's a fun ship. It's a really fun ship. Is it worth the grind? That's the thing. It is a very long grind. Now, it is a tier 9 ship, so it's not as excruciating of a grind as, let's say, a tier 10, like the like the Slava or the Ohio. But still, I think it was like 42,000 Research Bureau points. So, yeah, it does kind of suck in that regards, because you either need a mountain of free XP or you have to regrind, regrind, I think 4 times, 5 times, depending upon whether or not you have the multiplier. So, if you're a DD main, it is quite fun, and I do think it is worth the grind. But if you only have like 1 or 2 DD lines, you need a little bit more experience in DDs before I would say committing to this grind. Because even just me playing it, I've gotten good results, but I can imagine in the hands of a proper DD player, this thing is downright terrifying, just from my experiences here with it. So yeah, if you're a DD main and you like what you see, I think you'll enjoy the ship, and I do think it is worth the grind. Again, it's a little bit of feast or famine for me right now, because I get those lovely runs where I get well over 100k damage, or sometimes I only have those runs where I do 50 or 60k damage, which that's still pretty good for a tier 9 DD, but again, not the best ever. And it is kind of disheartening to see all these fun ships, the Siegfried, the Emilio, the Ohio, continually just getting shoved into the Research Bureau. These are really fun ships, Premium ships should be fun. Ships in general should be fun. And these are some of the funnest ships in the game. They keep getting shoved into the Research Bureau. I would happily like to see these ships get added in for like coal or free XP. Heck, you could have put the Emilio for free XP. I mean, it's just frustrating for me at least. Not from the viewpoint of me having to pay money to convert XP to get through the reset lines, but just from the aspect of these are really fun ships that I know a lot of people would have fun with, and they're being locked inside of the Research Bureau behind a massive grind wall. But it is what it is, and like I said, if you're DD main and you enjoy what you see here, it's worth the grind. If you aren't a DD main and you do like what you see here, grind up a couple of DD lines, get some experience in DDs, then get to resetting and grinding lines. The Hurugama line is the cheapest line to reset, so there's your tip for that if you do want this ship. Is it worth shelling out the money to convert XP to get through the regrind lines? Absolutely friggin' not. No ship in this game is worth, even with the way I did it, it's not worth $237. Without the free XP and the Research Bureau points I already had, this easily would have been a $300 or maybe even a $400 ship. But no, of course not. No digital item is worth that much. I don't care what it is. I love the Ohio, and the Ohio, again, if you want to shell out money for it, is around $400. It is absolutely not worth that much money. But I do think this is one that's worth the regrind, like the Siegfried. Anyway, guys, that's what I think of the Paulo Emilio. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers. We just passed 17,800. Again, cannot thank you guys enough for that. As always, I thank you guys for your continued support. This was a really expensive one to do, but you guys wanted it, so I put up the money for it. And again, it's a pretty fun ship. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one.